let's talk about Callum. We're just gonna talk about everything about Callum, the main character
Mm-hmm.
of Dragon Prince, essentially. Well, he's actually technically one of the main characters.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that Ez is like on the same level, but it feels like Callum is front and center right now, especially after that, like he got ill from using dark magic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't feel like Callum is, um, well, so far in my opinion, he just doesn't seem like a really well-rounded, balanced main
Mm,
character to me.
I agree.
Like he feels like
Mm-hmm.
more like a side character, or just somebody who seems to just be interested in one thing, which is like learning magic or something,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to discover himself, almost more so than um, the actual mission of bringing Asmodeus back home.
Mm-hmm.
Like in book one, for instance, he went to go get that cube, even though he
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
But he just wanted to do it for himself. He just wanted to learn about magic and everything.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I feel like so in what's it called? Script writing or any type of story writing, there's this thing called a passive character and an active character. A passive character, basically everything is happening to them. So it's like, for example, let's just say, you know, let's just say you have a boy, and then a bird poops on the boy. The passive character would be someone who's reacting towards the bird, versus an active character would be like, boy sees bird, boy kills bird. The active character is taking action on the bird. So I kind of feel that with Callum's character, he's very more. I feel like he's more passive than active. And another thing I have a problem, yeah, going back to the real roundedness, I just don't feel like there's much depth to him. Like all he is just some like magic guy who makes, snarky jokes every now and then. Like I don't feel like there's
Yeah.
more like, like I hate to compare him to Sokka, but he's the same voice as Sokka, where Sokka was like a warrior of a water tribe, and then I mean, yeah, he's snarky too, but he's still. I just feel like there's more depth. Like even in season one with Sokka, I feel like there's more depth with him. Like like when he tried to find his father, like that kind of shows a side of him that he really cares about his family. When he, or even when he like made out with Princess Yue and he had to choose between leaving the girl for the moon because he having to protect the girl for the moon, and or even the pack where he was talking to the Kyoshi warriors, where he learned from you. What's her name?
Suki.
Suki. That
Oh man,
like
how you gonna forget Suki, man?
yeah, I don't know. I'll forget Suki. I'm going to forget Suki. But like that aspect where we got to see a side of him where he like the romantic side, which Callum we've seen his romantic side with the Viren's daughter, but it's still
uh, I feel I don't like that. In my opinion, that's just like he's just like infatuated, and there's nothing much more
that's
to it.
true. That's true. It's superficial. It's not like with Suki, where Suki taught him how to be more respectful to women, and that and that he taught her how to fight too. So that's like something meaningful. Or even Princess Yue, who Sokka kind of taught her to have more fun and let loose, and she was gratitude for it. It's just there's just not much depth with
Yeah,
Callum, and Callum's supposed to be like the main character or one of the mains. So
and it's very unfortunate. I mean, you gotta admit that Callum as a main character just doesn't feel as there's something missing about him.
yeah.
There's just something missing, and we still don't know like some who his real father is.
Hmm.
Um, is he part of that family, like as somebody like who all of a sudden got there, or does he have any blood relations at all?
He's not. His mom is
What?
Ezran is his younger brother biologically.
Okay, okay.
So I would
So
say that they
so
both have the same mom. There we go.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's more to uncover about his past and everything,
Hmm.
but like just to do a quick comparison of Callum and Aang, it's like Aang just has so much story behind like why he's doing what he has to do. It's like it's part of his destiny and everything.
Hmm.
And for Callum, it's like there's a lot of mystery
Mm,
behind him, but it's like he never actually worked for what he got, in my opinion. Like
mm,
after he used dark magic, it was just like he went into this state of illness, and then
mm,
he he rejected dark magic, and then was trying to understand air magic, but
mm.
after he woke up, he just had it, you know.
Yeah, that's
It
another
didn't
thing.
it didn't really feel earned, you know.
I agree with that. Like we didn't really explain how he learned it. It was just like, oh, I know how to do it now. It's like at least we could have seen him be taught or something. So
Yeah.
that was kind of weird. But I just feel like Aang. I almost feel like Aang or most characters from Avatar or any show that has that people love the characters. There's a lot more depth to them. There's a lot more like there's a like the way I look at characters. It's like there's certain like layers. So you have like for example, Aang. One layer is that he's a kid. Another layer is that he's the Avatar. Another layer is that he's a monk. Another layer is that he's an airbender. So it's like a lot of the conflict comes within these layers. So like
Mm.
the biggest layer, for example, is that as an avatar, he must do what's best for the world. So killing the Fire Lord isn't very important. That being said, as a monk, that's against their beliefs. So now it's contradicting what he is. And I just don't feel like Calm has those layers to him where it's like, I'm a magic person, so this is probably best for me. Or like his role in the kingdom is like he doesn't have like a big role in the kingdom where it's like, magic might be contradicting what I do in the kingdom, but at the same time, it's like I'm a brother. So it's like you don't see those layers played much with his character,
Yeah.
which is why I feel like he's empty.
Yeah. It feels like Ez has more of a role, and arguably Ezrin is like also the main character of the show,
Yeah,
but it just the way that they're presenting it, it just feels like Callum is definitely put more front and center.
exactly.
Um, so it's kind of, I guess they're trying to roll with two main characters,
Yeah.
um, which is totally fine if you can balance it well. But
Hmm.
right now, it just feels like they're putting Callum front and center, but he doesn't get enough. Like we don't get enough as an audience about him, and I just can't relate to him. I just can't like. I don't
Yeah.
feel for him. I like in one of our other discussions, you talked more about Soren, and I was like, I felt more for him, like when
Yeah.
he was
Soren was a
injured.
bit more interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it's just like what, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously his story is has interest in it. It has drama. Like his
Yeah.
dad wants him to kill his friend,
Yeah.
and he doesn't want to do it. So that already gave him more depth, in my opinion,
Hmm.
than Callum. Like Callum's just like, I don't know. There's just not much to him.
Yeah.
He just wants to learn about magic, and that's it. Like that's all he.
Exactly. Yeah, I felt like, and honestly, if I didn't know the show well and I just watched an episode, I would have thought Rayla was the main character because there's just the way she acts, and then when you think about it, like what I said before on the other podcast, where I didn't feel like there were stakes or consequences. She was the only character that I felt like, oh man, they're gonna go kill her. They're gonna try to destroy her. They're gonna do all these damaging things to her. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
felt more worried for
and
her.
she pushes the story forward like
Exactly.
more so than anyone. It's like Callum just wants to chill at the Moon Palace trying to learn about magic. Rayla wants to get the dragon back home. It's like, yeah, I don't know, man. I just feel like I really don't like how they're building up Callum right now.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like the proper. It doesn't even have to be proper. Just I don't feel for him. Basically,
Yeah.
that's all there is.
I'm curious. So let's just say if two characters were to be like, let's just say Callum and Ezra were the same person. Like they had the same background stories, but for some reason they were like one character to one. Like they fusion dance, right? Let's just say that. Or what if it was Callum and Rhea? Like which one would you think would be the better for the show? You know?
Um, Definitely, it would be interesting if Ezrin and Callum fused. because that would make way more sense than Callum and Rayla fusing, because their stories are just so separate. Like you kind of have to have one, unless you just totally don't have Callum and then it's just Rayla and Ezrin. But I think the trio works really well, like number threes. So you need a third character.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of like, in my opinion, if you want to compare it to like trios that we know, like Avatar, Ezrin would probably act more like Aang. Callum would be more like Sokka, and Rayla would be, I guess, Katara in that case. But even though that's not a good comparison in my opinion, just
That's true.
just because like Katara is like nothing like Rayla in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just in terms of character role and also like other things. But not to get too much into that, it's just the number three is definitely very good, and if you were to fuse them, you need to introduce another character.
Yeah.
And Callum, I feel like if you fused Callum and Ezrin, like it wouldn't be that different. Honestly, it's like you just have like a magic wielding son of the king who can also talk to animals, who's trying to get like this egg or a hatched egg back to his mother. That would be like a great character right there.
That's true. That's true. I think what would have been interesting is if we had Callum fuse with Aaron, and then you had Rayla, and the third person was Soren. And what if Soren was like, yeah, his duty was to still like kidnap the prince, but he gets distracted in the group, being part of the group. And then his sister will always come back trying to remind him of his mission. And now his mission, it's like he has that, what's it called? That conflict between, should I enjoy hanging out with Callum, fused with Erzin and Rayla, but at the same time, I have this mission where I have to just take Callum away. And I don't know, I just feel like that would have been an interesting trio.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like having them as two separate groups. I mean, the Rayla, Callum, and Ezrin group is fine. It's good. Although having a fourth character there does really help, in my opinion. Like, for instance, when who's that guy that really wants to, who was a tracker? I forgot his name.
Me too. I just know it's with the guy with the dreads.
yeah. The guy with the dreads. Basically, whenever he's around, Corvus. I think Corvus was his name.
Yeah, Corvus. There we go. That's his name.
But when he's around, it adds to it. Like it adds like a new dynamic, which I very much enjoy. Same with like Soren and Claudia when they were around. It added a new dynamic as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like when it's just those three, it's not as good. Yeah, maybe we're getting to something right here, because it's like, Callum and Ezrin, they're just so, the roles can almost be fused.
Yeah.
And the story can be exactly the same, which is not a good thing in my opinion. Like,
that's true.
Like, we need the characters to be much more dynamic, and they're splitting them up now, so maybe they realized that, and or maybe they knew that this was gonna happen, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you're saying. If they just added like Soren into the group, it would be better in my opinion.
Yeah, they added him to the group and then fused Callum and Ezrin, so it would be the three of them. But it's like but that tension that Soren has, like, now we understand when conflict comes. You know what I mean? Like, now we understand, and it can, and especially with Rayla not trusting Soren, it can be like you just have this natural tension that comes in. So.
But yeah, I just wanted to get that off my chest, how I feel about Callum.
Yeah. Callum could be a better character. We're hoping he does become more complex, but this is our problem with Callum. So.
Yeah.